And the heat wave blazing across the U.S. can pose a risk to your physical health. Your first line of defense is to stay cool.
It sounds obvious, but just can't stress that enough. But in this next segment, we're looking at what excessive heat does to our mental health and some tips on how to manage any mental stress that comes with it. Here's my talk with Dr. Shannon Crawford, a psychologist and the CEO of Crawford Clinics.
Well, we're a finite being, so that means when your body is having to cool itself down, it's taking from regions of your brain that think clearly, that are able to be rational. And so when all of that is energy siphoned off for the body to try to downregulate and cool itself down, and the hippocampus is getting activated, all of that is draining from your prefrontal, which is smart brain. That's why we see people getting more agitated, irritable, annoyed, mental fatigue. You just want to isolate, you want to get away from people, and there's more likely to be crimes and, like I said, suicide when that's happening. So we have to really honor when our body is signaling, I'm not okay. Kind of like I work with a lot of people that they don't stop and drink water. They don't stop and go into air conditioning because they're working so hard at a task. But we really need to honor when our body is signaling, I need help, including air conditioning if we're getting overheated.
Yeah, an ice pack or a glass of ice water can go a long way here. And it's important to note that psychiatry.com shows that these people with pre-existing conditions or who are on medications might have an increased risk. Like, for example, people with dementia could be at a higher risk of hospitalizations in these high heat events. And also, antidepressants can somehow affect the way that the body regulates temperature. In light of all this, what advice do you have for Americans right now?
I think that we need to stay in community. We need to stay in relationship with people and not isolate, because that is another factor for suicidal risk and mental health issues. Staying in communication with your doctor, making sure that you're not getting adverse symptoms and you're staying on top of that. Also, keep your medication in a cool, dry place, and make sure that you're using mindfulness to recognize, again, body, I'm just overheating. It's the same we do with panic attacks, where people are having panic attacks and it's body, this is too much adrenaline. I'm not actually in danger. Nothing bad is actually happening. And then there's tools that I can do. And what I would recommend is write those out in advance so that when you're hot, when you're overheated and a lot's going on, it's hard to think clearly in the moment. You need to have a plan ahead of time and people you can connect with, good relationships and activities so that you find joy even during those hot, hard moments.
That is very wholesome. And Dr. Crawford, Anxiety and Depression Association of America says that if you are feeling stressed out, it probably could be due to all this heat right now. So what should people do?
Yeah. So that's the same. So we're writing down, what are my coping tools? Mind over matter, where you're saying, body, I know you're feeling stressed, but this is actually due to heat. And then I can go into air conditioning, I can get a cool towel, I can get ice water, and I can stay in community and not isolate or act out toward those that I'm finding irritating while I am hot.
Well, thank you so much for contributing today. Dr. Shannon Crawford, psychologist and CEO of Crawford Clinics.
Thanks.
And while Dr. Crawford highlighted mindfulness techniques to cope if you are overheating, according to the Mayo Clinic, if you do have heat exhaustion, the first thing you should do is get into an air-conditioned building, drink water, and take a cold bath or shower.
Yes, and if it persists beyond that, the Cleveland Clinic says just contact your doctor.